above what I'm seeing from Tempo Storm. There was even a moment in the last map where we saw, in the top lane, we saw the VP come out, and there was an Uther that was low on mana and health. And if Uther gets killed there, he's able to heal his teammates. And there was not a call between everyone on Tempo Storm not to focus the Uther.
All right, time to get into game number 2, draft 2 here. Gale Force currently leads 1-0 in the Battle of North America.
Now, I have to say, with everything that we've seen so far, I think Gale Force is very much the favorite to take the series. And I've said it as we headed into the games. I think they have the upper hand from just how they presented themselves, but especially even more so after the last map. The coordination that they are showcasing here is just way better. We had some pretty crazy plays also by a fan. Pretty funny how he once got a kill on Zeratul with a reverse hammering when he came back in because the initial one didn't reveal him. So he got that. That was pretty cool. But now in Battlefield, I think team fights work in Gale Force's favor, to be honest. And the first banner we're seeing is Tassadar, which has been very high priority for most of the teams here thus far, making sure that those double supports, and especially Tracer enabled or Illidan enabled by a Tassadar shield, are not going to become an issue.
Yeah, so for me, Gale Force eSports, keep doing what you're doing. Tempo Storm, find some way to put some steam in the tank here. They need to get some fuel. Eat a cheeseburger, I don't know. Get something going here so they can actually get some steam going, because right now they're just missing out.
Is that where the North American mind goes to when you need fuel?
Yeah, man. When I'm cranky,
Okay.
like 3 losses in Hero League, I go for a burrito or a hamburger, and I'm good to go.
Okay, fair play.
One thing I'd like to say about this matchup in particular, I think Gale Force is being pretty heads up in their map choices this series. I think they recognize Tempo Storm's strength is heavy macro-oriented styles of play, but they've taken them 2 times to maps where brawling can occur. And I feel like, as Calder brought up earlier, I think Gale Force currently does have the upper hand when it comes down to that micro-oriented playstyle. And I'm worried for Tempo Storm that they might crutch on Abathur for not even just this game, for the rest of the series.
Okay. I mean, Abathur has a good point here. I was just about to comment on Liming and Greymane. That's already Gale Force just saying we want our damage against the Immortal. They have great poke at this point.
This is old school.
From a distance. If we have standoffs, Liming is going to shine. If anyone gets close to the Immortal, it's Greymane. And if he starts chunking down those hit points, it's going to be a nightmare for them. I do like Uther Oriel, on the other hand, for Tempo Storm, I have to admit. We've seen how powerful Uther and Oriel can be at the mid-season brawl and also here at the Western Clash. With Illidan, they're showcasing very straight up that they want to team fight as well. They're not afraid to brawl here, and they want to be aggressive with this comp. And if anybody can keep you alive, it's Uther Oriel. You still have to make sure that you have to get that you have a good battery with it. So we're looking at Vala, we're looking at Lunara once again.
I'd like to see Gale Force ban the Lunara, to be completely honest with you. I feel like Vala would have much less of an impact overall. I think Vala doesn't really have very good matchups when it comes into Liming and Greymane. Greymane and Liming are able to do a lot of their damage just poking from afar. And Lunara can sort of counteract that by dealing damage from afar to generate hope. But the issue is Vala's not necessarily as effective as the Lunara at generating hope from such ranges.
I mean, a big argument in favor of Vala is more so also the map. Just because with an arrow build, which I know in North America is not as dominant as it is in Europe, but you have that extra pressure against the Immortal. And when it comes to the race alone, Tempo Storm is currently lacking a lot. So Tempo Storm has, of course, 2 options. Either they can say, hey, we don't care about the Immortal at all. We just go straight for the fight. We hope to win the fights. And if we do, we then focus on the Immortal afterwards. But Vala would give them a little bit more pressure. But I agree with you that for the only reason to have the constant energy on Oriel, I also believe that Lunara is just a better pick.
I feel like the Stitches ban is pretty integral here. It's something that Tempo Storm has 2 players that both are very proficient at that hero. It doesn't matter if Cattle or Fury are on it. Oftentimes you just see them get a lot of value. So it does make a lot of sense seeing that being banned out.
Control could still be great here for Gale Force eSports. I mean, over in Europe, we've seen Arthas on this battleground pretty often, but in North America, we see Arthas a lot, and this could be one that we see and picked up here. Especially with Illidan already on the opposing side, you have a great control. You also have someone that can help maneuver into fights.
One thing that Tempo might be thinking is that with the Illidan, he's never actually going to be the one fighting the Arthas, so Gale Force might be scared to pick it, like taking into consideration Illidan's going to be split pushing, Arthas isn't necessarily the greatest tank when it comes to punishing the Uther Oriel style compositions. I love the fact that they opted into both.
Yeah, because I agree. Arthas alone, you need someone else, and Anubarak just absolutely is the perfect pick here. This is a true and try combo that we have seen in Europe, in North America, and you have so much with Arthas controlling Illidan, Anubarak helping you. Just a simple cocoon on one of the two supports when you're trying to get a kill and you engage is super powerful. And also, it's great for them since there's no risk of another support being taken away, so they will still get their pick on the end of the draft. So I'm really liking that situation of Gale Force, and that draft is awesome.
I'm anticipating a Thornwood Vines Lunara here from Tempo Storm. Honestly, it seems like their best chance to be able to generate healing from afar. At this point, I don't think Vala would get the job done as well.
Well, also,
so
Tempo
I'd like
Storm,
to see the Lunara.
They've mentioned in the past they actually don't even prefer Vala with that Hungering Arrow. They think it's a little bit too late game with how the level 4 talent finishes up for the Hungering Arrow, so they're most likely going to go into that Lunara. But they do,
wow.
they switch it up. They grab the Murd and a Vala. Good, here's some changes.
Okay. Well, now I just want to make sure that I talked with Gilly a little bit about Vala and Lunara on this map, and on the European side, we see both, but Vala is dominant with an arrow build, so very rarely do you see another build being played here. And Gilly mentioned quite often that Vala oftentimes in North America, when picked on Battlefield, is still not played with an arrow build for the reasons you mentioned.
Yeah.
That NA players believe it is just too late game heavy, that they don't get enough value in the early and mid game out of it. But I like the confidence here, but I still have to say, in this setup, I would have preferred the Lunara that you mentioned. I'm usually a big Vala fan, and I love seeing her in Battlefield of Eternity, but with the setup that they're running there, I personally would have preferred them to go for Lunara as well.
A big argument in favor of the non-arrow, more multi-shot oriented build, I think that could be their line of reasoning, is Hot Pursuit really does enable Vala to get a little bit more aggressive and generate that hope from Oriel. I don't know what build they'll necessarily go into, but I'd anticipate Hot Pursuit into multi-shot.
Gale Force finishes up with the Malfurion here. Keep everyone topped off. Keep Li Ming with that Innovate going there, so it can keep up with the poke constantly happening here. So we're looking pretty solid for Gale Force eSports. I really like their draft for BOE.
I mean, that argument that you just made is absolutely valid. It's going to be interesting to... I actually don't know how often we see Vala as the battery for Oriel with the arrow build on Battlefield of Eternity.
Can it be a battery? Is that what you're asking? Yes, it can.
No, how often we actually see that? Because
very rarely.
Most of the drafts that I remember are really just leaning towards different supports there with that particular setup. So if the argument for NA is that they just simply like to generate more hope and are therefore absolutely okay trading off damage that you would normally make with an arrow build against Team, well, I could see that argument.
If you think about the front line from Gale Force, they have the Arthas and the Anubarak, and it actually, Hot Pursuit does help a lot when it comes to kiting that front line. The win condition for GFE, from my perspective, is to force out Uther and Oriel's cooldowns, yet still have the cooldowns to one shot. And if Vala is able to not miss position due to Hot Pursuit, then it's less likely they finish their win condition and get that one shot.
I just would have preferred Lunara here so much. Illidan is going to create so much space for you, so you should never really be under pressure. You are the team that wants to engage. Of course, Anubarak can make that as well happen for the opponent's side, but with an Illidan composition, you want to go in. And if you have Lunara, she has the space, so...
Oh, I just thought of something.
What is that?
I have a feeling Tempo is going to put Cattle on Vala.
Okay.
This is an interesting role shakeup, because generally we've been seeing since the role swap him playing the primary warrior, Fury playing the split soaking hero. But this game, for whatever reason, I feel like we're not going to see Solomon Vala, we're going to see Cattle on Vala. I don't know, what do you guys think? Am I crazy?
I think that it's not quite as exciting as what I thought when your jaw dropped.
No, it's
oh my god, something's happening here.
I thought he was going to go Haymaker. It's going to happen.
That's
exactly.
All right, boys. Anyway, we are done here. I think what we're going to do is we're going to head over to game number 2. We're going to head over to the casting team to find out if Gale Force can extend their lead in this best-of-5 series.
So we shall see indeed, Kalaris, and thanks, panel, for the thoughts there. What do you think, Gilly?
As far as the Hungering Arrow question that was talking about, yeah, I did say that in North America, when it's Ariel paired with Vala on Battlefield of Eternity, we trend toward the Hot Pursuit versus the Monster Hunter build. But you were saying there's a possibility for a little mix-up.
Yeah, just get Monster Hunter at 1, then double multi-shot. It's pretty okay. You missed that 10% movement speed, the bonus, but you got best of both worlds. You get the Hungering Arrow damage on the Immortal. Anyway, not going to go with the Church of Grubby, unfortunately, but as I can see already. But here we are. Second map here. Gale Force is in the lead. They're in the blue here on the left. K1 Pro on Greymane. Mike Odell on Arthas. Akaphase on Malfurion. Fan on Li Ming. And King Caffeine on Nubarak.
Interesting shakeup there with the Greymane and Li Ming, but in the red, Tempo Storm, after losing game number 1, finds himself down 1 game in this best of 5. Fury playing Muradin, June playing Uther, Caterpillar is indeed playing Vala, Psalm playing Illidan, and Ariel played by Koth and Luck.
Alrighty, here we go. Alright. I always need to do a check to see how North America lanes, as they do not really play it traditionally. As you can see, we kind of have a 2-1-0-0-2 split on this 4-lane map. There's way more lanes in the North American Battleground distribution.
I think Gale Force here are hoping that if it was just Illidan hanging out, they've got a lot of lockdown and a lot of damage to follow up behind that. But instead, Caterpillar and Koth and Luck are in the bottom lane, and still Gale Force has not revealed all of their heroes, so they're playing extremely cautiously until they can figure out what Gale Force has at plan.
They wait for that minute overstep by Psalm. Are you overstepping, Psalm? Not yet? Good, you're safe. Here we go.
Now
Psalm?
they think so.
Nope, he is safe. Good moves, good moves. Always playing cautious. It's not the most exciting part of playing good, but part of playing good is knowing exactly how many steps you can take out of your gate and being safe against the potential threat of missing opponents. People that you do not see on the minimap.
Looking at some of the talents that we have at level 1 as Psalm gets rooted and followed up with Burrow Charge, but still has Sweeping Strike to get away A-okay. Righteous Assault, my favorite Ariel talent at level 1. Cooldown reduction of Sacred Sweep, so later on they'll be able to pair that up. Maybe with Converging Force versus the composition of Gale Force at 13. Maybe with Blinding Flash, we'll have to see what they would prefer, but Converging Force would be able to maybe move people around a little bit. Try to stop Malfurion from going or dropping that Twilight Dream.
Yeah, that's really cool, and I think that's actually the #1 purpose for using it. Interrupting Twilight Dream, a little bit of displacement, putting Twilight on a 10-second cooldown.
Exactly. I have seen, I think it was Swoy who first started using that build, at least in the public stage. Sometimes it's someone else that you learn it from, and then someone else brings it out first. You're like, hey, that was my idea. But in that case, I do credit Swoy with that build, using that versus Malfurions with his Ariel. He's been playing that for a long time. But now the first Immortal phase has started. Tempo Storm has lost a little bit more of the health on theirs, thanks to the great poke of Fan. Gale Force eSports do have a good poke composition, and that Li Ming will have to be dealt with by Tempo Storm.
Yep, about 25% of the Immortals' health point has been scraped off there by Fan's long-distance ministrations. Meantime, Tempo Storm not doing the same thing. They're not in the offensive yet. Oh, look at that! Muradin going with the double hammer build, getting the perfect storm for bonus damage on his Stormbolt, as well as Sledgehammer. Quadruple damage on structures and minions. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and you could use it even for the Immortals to try to chunk down the Immortals, so helping out, maybe even trying to take this in lieu of getting the Monster Hunter build for Vala so that she can continue to be the beacon of hope for Ariel.
Confirm, Muradin is coming for your monsters. And of course his job is going to be partially to block those Arcane Orbs and Li Ming's, using his trait to stop the damage from a distance, but if he's low he cannot afford to do so.
There's the halfway point. Tempo Storm are going to now move maybe into position to defend, actually. Yeah, I wondered if they were just going to race that down and try to make sure that there was limited shielding for Gale Force eSports to be able to get this Immortal, but they want to continue to split out into the lanes and defend, slow down once again, but Fan is meticulously picking his locations of sending out, always moving and sending out his combo again, and is finding his mark a lot of the time.
Yeah, you don't want to come from the same side every time, so that's definitely good heads-up play by Fan. But Gilly, take me through why you think that Tempo Storm is not trading. Why are they only defending? What are they waiting for?
They are slowing things down so that they could sit in the lanes and continue soaking there. Although it is Uther who's split soaking in the bottom, not necessarily your favorite to sit there.
And they're not getting ahead in XP. So is it just that they want to get to level 10, don't want to use Illidan too much for serious fighting until they get the hunt?
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense to try to have that. And then just, we tend to do this anyway. And it was Roll20 who really perfected the art of this, just like we have Gale Force eSports on Braxis Holdout. Roll20 plays Battlefield of Eternity especially well. And they don't want to lose Psalm here, but neither does King Caffeine want to go down for Gale Force eSports. But yeah, we slow Battlefield of Eternity down quite a lot and make sure that you're trying to get to level 10 so that you have heroic abilities for the team fights.
So you have to slow down attempt by tempo. They are succeeding in slowing it down for sure. Trade-wise, they continue to take poke damage, dealing almost none. They're not getting ahead in experience, so either Tempo Storm's plan is not quite working out, as we have a small pause here. Apologize for that, ladies and gents, as we try to figure out what's going on here. But either it's not working out and Gale Force is countering them too effectively, or it is indeed no level 10, no fight, no bueno for Tempo Storm.
Well, yeah, once Tempo Storm gets heroic abilities, they get those two very important defensive capabilities for the big team fights, and may just not want to group in and speed things along for Gale Force so that they can get another Immortal phase started, the starts of it at least, before they have heroic abilities. They know they're going to they're definitely going to lose this Immortal, right?
Yeah.
It's just an amount of how far can they get so that they don't have to face another one and fighting around without their heroic abilities at that point.
That's the key, isn't it? And
yes.
They don't care too much about a high health Immortal number 1, as generally it doesn't do that much. Even if it is fairly healthy, it's easy to poke down. They have the tools, at least in Vala, to poke it down from afar. So yeah, that must be it. And if you look at the composition here, these 5, if you said the 5 of you run into the other 5 of you, it would be Tempo that would not want to do that. They need their Divine Storm, Divine Shield. It can probably be Divine Shield. They need their The Hunt to be effective.
Yeah, they definitely want those heroic abilities, but there are great heroic abilities for Gale Force eSports as well. Cocoon is going to play a huge part in trying to make sure that potentially if one of the supports is taken out or zoned away, they can try to cocoon the other one and then make sure that their supporting structure falls apart. When you're playing versus this double support type of composition, we've seen a lot of ways of dealing with it, but it usually comes down to splitting apart the type of composition so that they don't get the full team fight all together as one unit.
Yeah, exactly. Cocoon, Silence will be absolutely instrumental. So Malfurion will be walking forwards at some point to have a dream, a Twilight Dream, and it will be up to Caterpillar here to pick Reign of Vengeance at level 10 to try and interrupt the perfect Twilight Dream. Everything will come down to those 2 back liners to see who can get that first. If Reign of Vengeance hits, Twilight Dream is cancelled. Tempo Storm maybe wins that fight. If otherwise, the reverse will be true. Gale Force looked pretty good in the team fights in the last game. Meantime, the pressure is mounting as we have a little issue here. It's currently being investigated. A little bit of lag.
Grubby, it's still pretty surprising to me to see Tempo Storm playing double support. I know they're not a huge fan of it, but in this instance, it is Battlefield of Eternity, and this does seem to be the place that they would be more likely playing it. This is a type of composition that has just been so popular so far at the Western Clash.
Yeah, double support in particular, if you've had a tough game like game number 1 on Braxis, for Tempo Storm, I think it's good. It's a little bit more forgiving. You have layers upon layers of protection. And so if you're feeling like it's tough, it's a bit jittery, the nerves, having more protection can be nice.
It's interesting. It's interesting to me that between the teams, because Gale Force lost today, I got some information, by the way. Sorry about that. We're still waiting on the issue. There's a technical issue, so thank you for your patience. We'll be getting back to it shortly.
The nature of the issue, as you guys might be curious, we have a little bit of a ping increase, a little bit of lag across the network, so we're trying to investigate that. Of course, we want to preserve the spirit of competition, so pauses are legitimately needed during such moments. We do beg your patience and appreciate you for that. Once it can go on, we will let you know.
But as I was saying, it is interesting to me that we've got Tempo Storm versus Gale Force, and this is the first time that Tempo is is playing today. And meanwhile, Gale Force suffered a pretty frustrating loss. They did win one game on Brax's holdout, but they still ended up losing to Team Expert in the long run, and they even had one game that got fairly close in Towers of Doom. So I was wondering how both of these teams would handle the mindset of this match, and it does seem so far, just looking at the players, that Gale Force seems to be faring a little bit better here, and it may just be after losing game number 1, but after such a long day of play once again for these teams, just knowing them so well, it has been interesting to kind of get into their minds a little bit and see how they're feeling.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to be in the situation, I think, of Tempo Storm. Now, it is very personal, mind you. I have no idea what they're actually thinking, how they're actually handling it.
Sure.
But speaking with some competitive experience, I've been in both situations, and I'd rather be the team that has suffered a stinging loss and yet experienced everything on a day, goes on, plays another match fully warmed up, than to be the team that says, all right, let's wait and see who we face. Let's wait and see who we face.
Yeah.
And just you wait the whole day, burning up your nervous energy.
That's
and then
true.
finally the match is there and you are maybe warmed up in the practice room, but it's nothing like a match. Again, that's me personally. I don't know how they handle it.
I'm sure Tempo was hoping that it, at the end of the day, would be Gale Force eSports that they faced here in this elimination match. If for nothing else, then it is a competitor that they know, that they have played against before. But even still, Gale Force does seem to be ramping up throughout this event, trying to learn, trying to adapt to the tournament meta, and trying to, I mean, honestly, they're still figuring out synergies within themselves as a team. They're still fairly new.
They have a lot of experience, of course. What's kind of cool, I was talking to King Caffeine before he went into the series, and he said, all right, it's whatever now against them. And I was like, you don't care about the outcome of the match? He's like, hell yeah, I do. It's just that I know these guys. We play against each other all the time. We scrim. We meet in HGC NA. It's nothing like playing against Europe. We know each other. Best one will win, right? So here we go. Immortal is getting burnt down.
They are. Eventually, as we mentioned, Tempo Storm will lose this Immortal, but again, trying to delay, trying to soak up those many skill shots of Fan for as long as they can so the Tempo Storm can ramp up to their heroic abilities. The Immortal is spawning in the mid. We'll soon head to the top lane, and Tempo Storm must mount their defense.
I wonder why Tempo Storm is staying around in the middle here, poking a little bit at those that receive the tribute of the gods, the 2 regeneration globes there. A little bit of poke that gets absolutely negated by that. Maybe a little bit of a slowdown, bit of an information. Are you pushing with the Immortal, or are you pushing on the other side of the Immortal? Okay, they know that now. Here are the defenses of Tempo Storm. Immortal is pushing. Let's see if Tempo Storm's strategy is paying off, giving away a full shield Immortal in order to slow it down. If they can handle this well. Kato all the way in the front, 1 versus 4.
Oh, wow. Vala gets taken out so quickly, and that goes the battery for Tempo Storm. Illidan was in the bottom lane too, trying to make sure that he kept up the soak versus Arthas, so there really is just a warrior and 2 supports to try to stop this Immortal until Vala can get back immediately. Tempo Storm back off, understanding the horrible mistake that was losing their Vala there.
Yeah, I don't think there was 2 ways around that. Like you said, Gilly, that was a horrible mistake. You come out of this pause and, keeping your mentality straight is so important, but whatever the reason is, and I don't know the reason, he's on the wrong side of the fence, the wrong side of a circular Immortal stun around his base. Now, Vala got destroyed, and that Immortal got way more value than it should have.
Oh, and now they're gaining a lot more value. Cattle, once again, it gets caught as Caterpillar it gets back. King Caffeine burrow charged on top of him.
Layers of protection, Guardian of Ancient Kings and Ariel's Energy. But to be honest, you can't. That's a practice game, and you're keeping stats and you're keeping feedback. That's another kill. Cattle is dead. Right now he's dead. I know, he got saved, but he's dead. In terms of evaluating the efforts of his performance. So he's got to be very careful. And when I say that, I don't mean play careful, but be careful not to do that.
That is the forgiveness of the double support composition that you mentioned earlier. The fact that he did live, but you definitely need to staunch these mistakes right now. That's it, nothing else from there. They're almost 2 levels down to Gale Force eSports. Gale Force, in being able to get that Immortal, snowballed so much farther because the defense wasn't there once Vala was killed. So this is going to where Tempo Storm's plans, everything that they calculated, everything that they had decided, because of the way that they slowed things down with the Immortal, is now completely falling apart, and it's getting worse.
I mean, I just want to talk about the compositions here because there isn't much to analyze at this point. You look at Gale Force eSports, 2 warriors. They have a lot of CC, 2 assassins, a lot of damage. They have a lot of poke, they have a lot of burst. You have a support. He's got mana and healing for his teammates to give. Would you say that there's any particular linchpin of that composition? Is there one man that is more of a star on the side of GFE than another?
You mean a player or a hero?
Yeah, one hero, a player.
No,
not
definitely
really.
not.
They're 5 fingers to a fist. You look at Tempo Storm, they keep playing these one hero star play kind of compositions. First it was Zeratul Psalm, now it's Vala, to a degree Illidan. If they are not performing, there's nothing Murden, Uther and Auriel can do. Tempo Storm keeps giving themselves these extremely difficult compositions. If this game turns out to be a loss, I want to see them run standard. I want to see them copy Gale Force's current composition and contest these same picks. But for now, Tempo Storm still has a chance to prove wrong. The momentum that looks like is happening right now. Guardian of Ancient Kings will proc on Fury if that heal comes out.
June stepping off to the side. He does not have Divine Storm, so this isn't a Divine Storm flank. And speaking on that, Tempo Storm R10. They have heroic abilities. They're not in the place where they thought they would be. They're a little bit more behind than they estimated with the initial Immortal phase. Psalm is trying to do a lot of damage to the bottom lane, though, to the structures, and try to help the team catch back up. Tempo Storm are a level behind. They're half of an Immortal phase behind, too.
Now, the hunt was used to draw out Army of the Dead, which will be used to heal Arthas back up to full. Immortals down to 50%. And this is probably the best moment of the game yet for Tempo, having not yet lost the keep, being an important heroic ahead, as the hunt will come back. Starting to get a little bit of damage. But what gives? Where does this turn around and become a situation where Tempo says, all right, let's trade, or let's push, let's do something, because they just keep falling behind. They're not killing the Immortal, you know. I don't really see where they're going with.
They did put Immortal, or Illidan on the Immortal, and they're trying to use the 4-man to be strong, but and defend their Immortal. But now they've got King Caffeine and Michael Udall catching Psalm in the cocoon, which forced Kothenlock to come back up. Knowing that, the hunt's going to come in. Tempo Storm is ready to go in for the fight. Twilight Dream hits a lot of the members, but not before Greymane goes down.
Well handled by Tempo Storm. They come to Illidan's 8. The sudden turnaround was very surprising. I mean, the camera could barely follow where Illidan went. That was very nicely done by Tempo Storm. A little bit doubtful by Gale Force, where they say, let's use Arthas and Nurak solo to try and blow up Illidan when Tempo is basically really close. But that was really well done by Tempo.
And it was a good understanding of the positioning, too, from Tempo Storm, because they had seen where the rest of the members were. They had pushed them back with the 4-man. Auriel came up to help out Illidan, but immediate turnaround, Illidan hunting in, having the vision there to jump in, because the Warriors, they can't get there in the same time that Illidan could. Now there's a stun, follow-up for Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm has finally found some rhythm, for maybe the first time in the series.
I think legit there, King Caffeine is checking if his keyboard is plugged in, because his character was unresponsive for about 5 seconds or so with all the stuns. First from the boss, then Uther and Auriel just bulldozering over him, and with a few chain deaths, Tempo Storm is suddenly back in the game. Let's forget how it happened for the moment, and let's see what Tempo Storm can do with that. They're starting to put that pressure here. 2 at the bottom, Murden's in the middle, Illidan going top. He's clearing some camps.
Now with that low shielded Immortal, Tempo Storm and a lot of members already working on the fort in the bottom, they're just going to counter push with that, and that has finally given them an experience advantage the first time. They hit 13 at the same time as Gale Force, thanks to the few picks that they did get. And I'm looking at the 13 talents. Converging Force is the answer. The hunt comes in. Psalm has once again hoped to get his team a kill. It won't be had this time.
All heroics are available for Gale Force. The hunt was just used, so Tempo Storm has to make themselves scarce. They've equalized on structures, they're half a level ahead, and they have a tenuous hold of this game. But every single kill that they've had has been a case of extreme self-isolation by Gale Force. They have not been, let's say, deathballing, staying together. And as the game goes on, that's what ultimately gave them the win last game, and give them the win this game as well.
Grubby Li Ming has taken Cannoneer at level 13, over getting Illusionist. even versus the Hunt with Illidan too. There's no cleanse to try to help Bale Leeming out of danger. There won't be now that if you take that big chunk of damage, giving you your teleport back immediately. What do you think about getting Cannoneer here, though, to try to help with more damage, especially when we start looking at, well, definitely the fights, but the Immortal as well?
I mean, I think Cannoneer is fine. I think skipping Force Armor is doubtful in this situation at level 1, getting power hungry on a map where you do not always have regeneration globes when you're fighting over the Immortal. I would say half the team fights you don't have that bonus ability power from power hungry, so I think that's a bit doubtful. Cannoneer itself is kind of cool. You circumvent evasion, Illidan's of course auto attack dodging, so you can actually do a lot more damage with that against him as your auto attack becomes ability power.
Force Armor is definitely nice, but having Power Hungry, if you end up being the person who has to rotate down to the lanes, and often when we have Li Ming on Battlefield of Eternity in North America, they will be the one to go down and throw an orb out to take out the camp or the wave quickly so that she can rotate up without losing too much. She can just pop in, hope that she can get the globe, and then have not only the increased ability power, but get the increased mana back from the globe, since you do find yourselves for a long time fighting, as we're seeing here.
Definitely get that. Very useful talent here. The Hunt on Greymane, almost kind of as a peel, as there was an engage on Muradin. Cursed Bullet was used, 15 seconds, not available. And Tempo Storm now can use Illidan in the off lane. He's pushing alongside with the Bruiser camp, which means Tempo Storm wants to play it safe. They want to make sure Illidan doesn't get engaged upon, and they're just going to throw some Sledgehammer Storm Balls.
That'll throw out the Hungering Arrow, but of course not quite the same as when you have Monster Hunter on this battleground. Getting that bonus damage. Minions, mercenaries, and monsters, they would like to step forward ideally, and they do whenever they have a Stormbolt with Sledgehammer. The stacks that they've been building up with that throughout the game as well. Whatever poke they have, it's not nearly as much as Gale Force has, but they're trying to make it work.
Yeah, by aggressively positioning and using Illidan in the off lane, Tempo Storm has kept their Immortal completely healthy. Very nicely done. Another Stormbolt there, another 5 bonus damage on the Stormbolt there for Muradin, as he has an infinite damage stacking quest.
Psalm uses the Hunt to get back to the center faster so that he can get back up to the top lane. He's just going back and forth between the lanes. But this is working for Tempo Storm. They are getting ahead in experience. They will likely get to 16 just slightly faster, but Gale Force is making sure to keep up with that. Again, Li Ming is hanging out in one lane, you've got Arthas in another, so they are just barely behind.
Yeah, Fury needs to throw a Stormbolt every now and then on the Immortal, as Gale Force is using 2 heroes in the off lane, Tempo only 1, and that means that Tempo should be a little bit more aggressive. I feel like they're slightly too passive here. You gotta work with the situation. If it's one off laner, sure, play it safe. If you see Arthas and Li Ming in the off lane, go, 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 a little bit more. Level 16 is reached, but no window really to capitalize on.
16's here, and there's Wrath of Heaven with the additional ability power along with the multi-shot build. There's also Benediction, which is a ginormous power spike for Uther. But 16's also here now for Gale Force eSports. They've got Mirror Ball, so they're going to have even more poke for the Immortals. And Gale Force eSports finally catching up is hoping that they can be the ones now to aggress forward and start evening out the Immortal health bars.
Illidan has taken a camp, the Impaler. Pretty cool, I like that. Another thing that I like is that Marked for Death has been taken on Illidan at 16. This allows him to do 500 crit damage every 3 to 4 seconds with that dive on the Immortal. Repetitive dives will do crit damage. Wow, a lot of damage on Fury. But Illidan is going to be pushing the bottom lane.
It was great to see that as soon as that camp was picked up, Gale Force knew exactly who was on that point, and they tried just briefly to throw out some damage on Muradin. They, of course, didn't get the kill. It is Muradin. He's tanky. And the hope is that they can use that low cooldown of Cursed Bullet and do some damage. Cocoon is down. Roots underneath as well. Psalm comes in with the Hunt. Strafe is immediately used. Cattle vaulting forward, hoping that he can get some value off of that. But Gale Force eSports get back out of range.
And this is a dream scenario for Tempo Storm. Cocoon got used very haphazardly, very randomly. Illidan is now on the Immortal. It's already down to 40%, using Mark for Death. Mike Udal with the flank, stopping Illidan deep behind enemy territory. What is Gale Force's response? Do they risk collapsing on Arthas as 5? But they will leave their Immortal exposed, so they do not. Instead, they go forward. They're forcing Arthas to rejoin his brethren.
Gale Force
through
hopes that-
Immortal.
They hope that they could make someone make the wrong decision. The Hunt comes in and blows up Greymane. Saw him hoping that he can get away, and he does. Has Divine Shield to try to start getting back up some of the self-healing from Betrayer's Thirst. Michael Udall looks like a tasty target, but still Tempo Storm do not want to take the bait of leaving Li Ming on this Immortal. They are avid to win this phase.
I have to hand it to Kato here and his teammates. They have really upped the level. They have been given a branch by Gale Force and they have accepted it. They put another kill on the Nubarak. Detainment strike into Hammer of Justice. Illidan in the meantime on the Immortal, but they've really turned up the heat here. Tempo Storm looked like they were absolutely bungling things in the initial stages of this game until level 11. And suddenly now, that dance that they did around the Immortal, the attack on Greymane, so much better.
All of that finally paying off to a Tempo Storm Immortal. The patience of Tempo Storm and the unwillingness to be baited out of position and allow Fan to do a lot of damage is so impressive from Tempo Storm here, especially since, again, this is an elimination match. Tempo Storm have had a rough tournament. They have made it to this point, but they are down one game in this series, but they are not out of it yet.
And they've looked the best that they have the entire tournament yet so far. The Hunt goes in on Li Ming. A lot of damage, as we said, will happen in that situation. No force armor will be coming back up. Now the Hunt, 40 seconds cooldown.
The Divine Shield will be back up in 1 second. Meanwhile, there is the Immortal and all of Tempo Storm deciding to push with it versus hoping to split push. They are just keeping along with that for now. Trying to break down the towers and the gate. Will they move on for more?
Look at Psalm's positioning. He's trying to add value to his Immortal. He draws out a Cocoon, not bad. This is very easy to handle for the supports of Tempo Storm. There's no way that a Cocoon can get value before the supports get isolated away. Everyone gets out for now by Tempo Storm. They got their keep. They need to not be too greedy. Are they greeding too much? Tempo, why are they moving forward?
They're hunting. They're going back in for the hunt. They do not get the kill, but Gale Force has multiple members low in health. King Caffeine, Akaface as well, but there's a lot of heroic abilities still available, and that is mainly Twilight Dream. If Akaface can step forward and hope to land a perfect one, this might be a case where Tempo Storm would start to lose people and Gale Force could fire back. Tempo Storm, step back. Got a little scary for a second.
You just got back in the boxing ring. I don't get it. I mean, they were level 19.5. They already got a keep. They got as much as they were going to get. Immortal was 5%, and they went back in there. Now, I gotta say, they handled it really well. The double support kept everyone very healthy. But if there was one way to lose the game, that would have gotten my vote. And Tempo Storm nearly... I wouldn't say they nearly had it. I would say it was a wrong decision, very well executed, and then the retreat was good, but a little bit risky.
Absolutely. Versus Roots, Twilight Dream, Arthas who can chase you down once the slows were on top of you. You've got a Nubarak too. Tempo Storm, it's good that they made it out. It could have gotten much hairier for them had they been able to, had they lost people. But the Hunt once again is going to come in. Gale Force is hoping to turn that around once again. Always on top of Fan, but the team is there to make sure to keep him safe. King Caffeine is there to peel for Fan every time.
I want to point out that Illidan, Psalm here, he has picked Nowhere to Hide, a great talent in Quick Match. You don't get the Bolt of the Storm to get out, an alternative way to save yourself, but there's one more really cool thing about it, particularly in pro play. It's the vision you get on the 25% less than 25% HP enemy targets, and global. So you can go from your core to enemy core. So there's a little bit of a earmark here.
My.
Maybe we'll end the core later. Twilight Dream misses. The Ariel Shield of Hope comes out. The turnaround. Malfurion goes down.
The Hunt came in on top of Malfurion and he used the Ice Block momentarily, but it wasn't enough to keep him alive. Now Tempo Storm with 2 kills brings down the gate and want more. They have 20 though. There is an Immortal phase up. There are catapults pushing in the top lane. They only have 1 keep left to take down, and with such an experience advantage over Gale Force eSports, they make the safe call, they back off, they're going to get after the Immortal and hope to end the game along with that. They could split push up at the top against it, allow it to guarantee, get the keep, maybe even move around to the side and make it so that Gale Force cannot defend. A no-win situation.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, hold that thought here. There we go, Benediction. How many stunts was that? Too many for Gale Force, that's for sure. Greymane goes down. And it's moves like this that make the call for Tempo so safe. I just want to say, it was 20 versus 18, and they get 2 kills. If it's 20 versus 19 and a half, they try to end the game there, 5v3. But 20 versus 18, they have plenty of room to kill the Immortal. And if Gale Force does the inevitable to either defend middle or try to out-soak, they can always collapse on a lane. There were so many possibilities. In this case, Tempo shows the exactly correct decision-making, playing it safe. In this case, that is the safest. If you're 5 in front of an open core, playing it safe is not getting camps, of course. But this time, Tempo Storm does it really well. They get the Grey main kill. He will be back soon. And no level 20 will be forthcoming unless they're able to kill someone on Tempo Storm.
Now Gale Force has to make the miracle defense, and that is one without 22, a fully shielded Immortal and all of the members of Tempo Storm barreling down their core. The prevailing one, the scariest one, being Illidan, of course. Only a couple of kills necessary. An orb does do a lot of damage to Som. He's going to back off and start to get the self-heal. There are double support, so a lot of healing is all that's needed to keep Tempo Storm alive. They get the first kill necessary to take this game.
The hunt comes out on a Nobarak. Nice dodge there on Twilight Dream with the Divine Shield. Core is starting to lose shield. Tempo Storm is going to even out this series, this best of 5. They take the game 2, and it's going to be 1-1.